2, 1. So that's what we're doing tonight?
We're live?
Yeah, we're live. 7:30. You can pick your whiskey. I'm just going to check audios quick.
All right.
All
We'll
right.
do one for old Brian.
Gotcha. Facebook's good. And YouTube, just checking audios. And YouTube's good. So we are all set, live to go. All good on the audio. So thank you guys for tuning in. This is episode number 10 already.
Double digits.
Double digits of Whitetails and Whiskey. Got a little docket tonight. A couple topics and stuff we got. Questions we've been hearing, stuff like that. Started off with the whiskey of the night. Nate says we're going to do one for Brian tonight. One of my dad's staples is the Granddad 100 Bonded, and it hasn't been featured yet. So,
evening, Derek. Glad to see you
Derek.
back on.
Probably out of the back country. He's probably been up hunting or fishing or something, working.
I'm sure he has been.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess, I don't know, Nate, you can start it off with what you had happen the other night, or not you, but your wife. Good things.
Good things, and then one not so good thing.
Yep.
But yeah, so C and I tagged my buck. Obviously I want to get out there hunting, so I went on a couple buddy hunts with some friends. Nothing really transpired from it. We saw some small deer and doe, but I was trying to talk my wife into going out and trying to get one. It's been a while. Well, she's only ever killed one deer with her bow, and I was with her actually with her first deer with her bow. We were both buddied up in a double ladder stand, and my grandfather's old property. But finally, kind of got her talked into it. She's had a little rough patch there where she struggled with, I guess, making some poor shots and unfortunately not being able to find the deer, and she's kind of slowly getting over, that just being part of the game. And so she decided she was going to go shoot her bow, and if she felt like her shots were up to par for her, that she was going to let me take her out on Monday. So she shot her bow. She shot great, right on the insert of the 3D deer, and she says, all right, I feel confident. I think I could do it. And I had a pretty good spot in mind with that kind of cooler temperatures coming in throughout Monday and Tuesday. So we went out Monday. I set her up in one of my favorite stands, actually the stand I shot my bow buck in last year. Just an 18-foot ladder stand. And I'm sitting in, and I went up on top, just sitting over a cut bean field, wasn't really anticipating much. And sitting there, and I'm looking on my phone, and I don't know, it's probably about, I don't know, because the whole time change, it gets dark at 5:30, so it's probably pushing 5 o'clock.
Yep.
My phone starts ringing. I'm looking at it, and it said Eliza, and I don't know, I was zoning out on something. I was like, what the hell is Eliza calling me for? And then it just hit me. I was like, like, oh, wait a minute. So I was like, hey, did you get one? And she goes, oh my God, I got one. He's down. So, and it was actually her first bow buck. She did a great shot. Thing, I don't know, went 20 yards.
Yep.
Got tangled up in some vines and died there. It was cool. She was all excited. It definitely got her confidence up, and hopefully I can go on a few more hunts with her that, now that this has opened up her confidence. That was a big thing for her, was her confidence for a while.
Yep.
And then, of course, us hunting with you, letting us go out there and her take a doe with her rifle last year. So that was a confidence booster. And now she did it all by herself. I wasn't with her or anything, and she did great. She got her first bow buck. Nice little basket rack 6-point. And she was ecstatic.
Absolutely.
And, of course, we had to bring the baby over to the in-laws. Dave and Jean, they're always up for watching little Owen.
Yep.
So it's nice to have that so we can get out and do things like this. But so we had to go show her dad her deer and pick up Owen. And then I got a deer on the way home, about three quarters of a mile from my house. Doe just ran right into the side of my truck. I couldn't really do much about it.
Yeah, let the old Chevy eat.
And yeah, crushed her. She didn't go 20. But yeah, so that was a little bit of a damper on the night, but
Yep.
it's all right. It's what we got insurance for.
Yep.
And but yeah, that was kind of. I mean, just got so much going on right now. I really haven't been focusing a whole lot on hunting, seeing I got my buck, and it was great to get Liza out and do all that and
Yeah.
have some fun out in the woods.
No, we're doing well this year, dude. I mean, can't complain about any of it.
No,
It's been good. I know for some people it's been a grind, but there's been some big deer hitting the dirt the last couple days with these fronts and stuff coming in.
yeah, some of the stuff I've been seeing pop up on the Facebook feed there, some
Mhm.
of the pages I follow, or there's some studs going down.
Yep. Yeah, like I said this morning, I was at work and I'm sitting there with the guys drinking coffee and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, like this is the morning that I want to be out there right now. It was like 26 degrees, hard frost,
Hmm.
nice steady wind, not super calm. I was like, this is
Yeah.
what dream mornings are made of.
Oh yeah.
But, hopefully we'll get some fronts with the gun and, I'll be going out with the pistol this year again.
Hmm.
So we'll see if I can get something again this year with the pistol. That'd be cool.
It's always fun with a gun.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I love bow hunting, it just kind of puts a little. I don't know. Obviously puts a little different twist to it because you got some range.
Yep.
You can set up a little different. You can actually. I'm not saying you can't kill a deer from the ground with your bow. Jesse does it all the time.
Yep.
But it's definitely a little more difficult to get the deer within 20. At least, if you have an odd wind and you don't have a stand right for that wind on your property, you can just pack a lawn chair and go set up on the
Sit a hedgerow.
right end of the hedgerow that you're hunting, and and gun gives you a little more options. Rifle does for sure.
Yeah, get the old 5-gallon bucket out.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, I shot that doe a couple years ago with the rifle, dude. It's just laying prone in the ditch. Had a doe group coming off, no stand there.
Didn't
for
you
that
have like
wind.
a white bed sheet over you or something?
I've done that
For the
before in
snow,
the snow. I've done that in the same kind of spot with the snow with the muzzle loader, and they were a little too far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went out there and snow camo, and then threw that white sheet over the top of me. But YouTube line coming in. Derek obviously said, "Hey, Plap's tuning in."
Hey, Flap.
Plap also says, "Grandpa said Liza was shooting good that day." Obviously, got the job done.
Yeah, she got the job done.
Yep. Derek says, "Congrats," and then, "Oh shit," probably with your truck.
Yeah.
Derek says, "Not seeing shit. It's been in the low teens every morning with a high of 20 during the day. Doesn't help. We got 4 to 6 of crunchy snow. Crunchy's tough
Yeah.
to get around and
getting in.
yep.
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 Especially with, I guess, your style of hunting, because I think where Derek is, he can do
He's going uphill. Or,
he can
yeah.
he can do a little more stalking, I think, where he's at over there in
Yeah,
where is it?
Glass and Idaho.
Idaho. Yeah, Idaho.
Yeah, but he hunts a couple surrounding states because getting truck and drive,
Yeah.
you got.
Which we talked about that, which is not really in the cards for me, but
Yeah.
we've talked about that.
Yeah, I was just about ready to pull the trigger on Ohio this week with this front coming in with the hurricane and everything, or tropical storm, whatever it is. But no, it didn't work out. My wife's on call this week. Been dealing with some stuff at work with her on call week, so I'm kind of glad that I'm here and didn't take off with it. But we'll see. Maybe next week I could light out for like Ohio or Pennsylvania. I got my eye on a couple pieces of state land in Pennsylvania that are a little bit closer too. So
Yeah.
I
Or
don't
just
know.
wait till next year. We go on a buddy hunt. It's more fun with a buddy.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. No, it'd be nice to chase something. And of course, next year we'll be grinding after a deer here and won't be tagged out yet. We'll be sitting here
I know.
going,
Yeah.
we got Pennsylvania next week or Ohio.
Yeah.
Haven't punched the tag
That's
here,
true.
but that's obviously how it goes.
Well, I don't know. Last year I got my buck November 5th, and then this year I got it on the October 27th. So
Mhm.
it still leaves a couple weeks.
Yeah. Well, I went the whole season last year.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Got a little picky.
got pretty picky last year, which is all right.
Got a little picky, but it all works out. But yeah, and then other than that stuff going on, I've just been kind of working, trying to get stands checked, or not stands, but cameras checked here and there when I'm out, and can get stuff checked. I had to track a deer the other night with a neighbor, which brings up a good topic of having good neighbors to work with. Ones that keep an eye on your back door of your property, ones that call you when something runs on your property. All that stuff helps with those good neighbor relations. And I helped a neighbor of mine that I haven't seen in like probably 4 years now, since he just moved to the neighborhood.
This
Shot a
is
deer.
this is the same night Liza got hers.
Yeah, they were out that night. It was because I apologized for not being able to come over and see Liza's deer because I had to go track. Yep. So yeah, he shot a doe and followed up. It was tough blood trailing, and we got her. So that all worked out good. But yeah, the big thing was just having good neighbors, people you can call, and having that good relationship. And some make it easier than others. Some make it not so easy. But
Hey, I've learned that in my life that you can be best friends with somebody for 9 months out of the year, but when that 3 months of deer season rolls around, you can turn to enemies pretty quick.
yeah, well, yeah, some people, yeah, for sure. For sure. And again, it's just a respect thing. You
Yeah,
just respect my side, I respect your side, and
yeah.
that's how
That's the
we
best way to
always
do
do
it.
it.
It's the best way to do it.
And luckily, we got a lot of the issues out that we've had in the past with certain individuals in the area and stuff like that. So luckily, knock on wood,
Evening, Jimmy.
everybody watches out for each other over there now, which
Yeah.
is helps everybody keep a safer hunting too. And that's the other big thing with giving a call. Not as much with the bow, but with the gun. You don't know where somebody's hunting and everything like that.
Mhm.
So that's a big thing with that too, is safety for us.
For sure.
So yeah, Jimmy O said, "Evening, gents. Evening, Jimmy." Derek says 90% of my hunting is stalking, not sitting in a stand. So yeah, so he's glassing, probably looking, trying to find game, big open country,
Mhm.
burn areas. I know they've been having some big burns out there.
Elk, muleys.
Yep, last couple of years. And then Derek actually brought that up just now in the comments on YouTube. Said, did he show Nate pictures of that elk with rice breast? So yeah, so Derek messaged me the other night, and I'll show it to him right now. And he was saying, "Hey, what's white worms in elk meat?" And then he said rice breast, and I thought rice breast was only in waterfowl. But we did a little bit of digging, him and me, and came to the same conclusion that deer can get it, elk can get it by eating vegetation that's got the nematode in it, which causes the parasite, or drinking water. But no, it was really odd, and I think Derek said he got his buddy that shot the elk that had a salvage tag for it. But it was bizarre, dude. I've never seen anything like. I've seen it kind of in waterfowl before, but never in
This is more of a water parasite.
waterfowl, because it's in the vegetation and water and stuff like that a lot. So if it's got that nematode, which needs moisture, um, that's where they pick it up on. I'll look for a picture. Plapp says, now, when you guys walk into a new property to hunt, what kind of work does it take to figure out how to hunt that land? Plapp with a good comment. I
Good
like
one,
that.
Flap. I guess I'm a big fan of Onyx and using topo. Um, I use a topo map to kind of look for geographical features to set up, whether it's I mean a good example, I guess, if it's was last year with like my muzzleloader buck. I mean, it just kind of depends on what's around. I mean, is there a food source that's kind of hanging on there? Is it, what time of year is it? Um, the time of year, I guess, for an example, with that muzzleloader buck, was there was standing corn. I got permission for one day to go out there and hunt because I drove by the property multiple times and I saw the standing corn, and it was late December. So
Yeah, it was a holiday season.
I mean, depending on the time of year and just kind of knowing what the deer are a little more interested in might alter a little bit of how I sit it.
Hmm.
But definitely number one would probably for me would be looking at the topo, some geographical features, trying to set up something that was gonna pinch them deer down or funnel them down to me, and then weather,
Yep.
watching, just hunt it on the right days and the right winds.
Yep.
And then, like, obviously, if it's a property, a new piece that you got, the more you hunt it, the more you're going to learn about it.
Yep.
You
Yep.
might set up in that pinch point and it's bow season, and them deer just keep walking, 50 yards away, and you need to move that stand 20 yards, and you just make that adjustment the following year or during season or however. I guess that's just a few of the things that I do when I go into a new piece.
Yeah, so looking at new pieces and stuff, that's something I do all the time with the consulting and stuff like that. And like you said, it starts with that aerial image, and then I want to look at access points. Is it just one side of a property you can access from? Is it some properties I've been to, it's like a whole long right of way to get back down into the property, and then again, like you said, topography, how's it lay? And then trying to lay out the access is the first, kind of work and stuff like that after the pre-scout and try to get a feel for it. And then put boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go look at it. I mean, as much as, you want to pick it apart, and most of the time, if you start looking at them enough, you can start fleshing out, like you said, the topography and some of the fields and stuff like that, and habitat. But putting those boots on the ground, you might find like the right tree, that you didn't even see might have been on the map, or the right spot when you start looking at it and go, man, this is the spot that I can get into, get out of, hunt with this wind or multiple winds maybe with the way it lays out. That's kind of the first thing when I'm going into a new piece, like I said, or, consulting for clients and stuff like that. It's all access based, and then we start laying out improvements, down the road with it. If it fits for them and fits for their budget. A lot of people have a hard time as it is with a land payment and taxes here in New York. Sometimes the budget's not as fat for doing some of those property improvements. So, but
Well, definitely the cheapest way is probably just look at an aerial view.
Yep.
Just look at geographical features that, just help you funnel them deer to you.
Yep. Yep. Saddles, benches, all that good stuff. So, but yeah.
That's where I would start with a new piece, and then I guess, like if it's a new piece that, like we were saying, that you can continuously hunt for years, like a lease,
Mm-hmm.
or is it a piece that you have like a weekend permission, or are we just going to Ohio picking out some state land and we're trying to make something happen in 4 days?
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely different situations to how, but definitely number one would be looking at a topo map and just trying to figure out the best geological feature to set up on,
Mm-hmm.
and then just start with that.
Yeah.
Then just hunt it smart with weather and wind.
Yep. No, I agree 100% on that. But yeah, this is the picture I found of that rice breast. So those are all parasitic worms. I'll try to show it to the camera too. Hopefully you guys aren't eating dinner right now. But it's real distinctive. It looks like grains of rice in the meat.
Yeah.
And then when you cross section it, they're all laid in it almost like little fat deposits.
Yeah.
Yeah. New tag.
Thanks for sharing that with me.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry. Hannah made pasta tonight.
I ate before I came over.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's something I wouldn't recommend necessarily looking up, but something to look out for when you're, processing your deer and stuff like that is always abnormalities, infections,
Well, I had a scare, and it was kind of messed up how it all worked out, but it was a few bow seasons ago, and I was cooking up some venison, and it was a backstrap,
Mm-hmm.
and sitting there seasoning it, just had it in the pan, I just cut it into medallions, and I threw some salt on it. I walk away, I come back, and I start seeing these little rice things. Like it's almost like they were just popping out of nowhere, like they were like working their way out of the meat, and I was like, that ain't right. So I ended up getting a little freaked out by it. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
gonna eat it. It kind of grossed me out. So I got the whole deer together, and I ended up throwing the whole deer out. Well, come to find out, my wife puts little rice chunks in the salt so it doesn't harden up. The rice will absorb. So I ended up wasting an entire freaking deer over that. But I don't know. I guess I was trying to be safe. Or I don't know how the rice got through the salt shaker. or
I think you
whatever.
got
But
what
that's
you
that.
think.
Maybe it wasn't the rice, but I think that's what we determined it was because it was it was
I think you
yeah,
got
kind of
maggots coming
embarrassing to
out.
talk about. Big bag hunter. No, but
Well,
it was
again.
but I wanted to be safe. I didn't want to eat it. It kind of grossed me out by the looks of it.
Oh yeah.
And then I was poking it and it was soft
Yep.
because the
Cooked up.
moisture, with the, and I was like, I don't know. And then I don't know, it was kind of a funny story, but
Yep.
yeah.
I got this whiskey sitting here before I spill it.
Uh,
So, because we haven't done our whiskey, but here's to everybody that has tagged, and good luck to everybody that's still out there plugging the woods. Still got another 10 days left or so before gun season, so plenty
Now
of time.
yeah, plenty of time. Sorry.
No, all good, man.
Oh, I cut you off there.
No,
But
all
no,
good.
but to do this right for Brian, we would technically need a Mountain Dew chaser, is what I was getting at. But I don't think we have.
I don't think I got a Mountain Dew.
Brian, just the old granddad for today.
Granddad with a dew chaser usually.
What's he call them? Whiskey Dews.
Whiskey dews. Absolutely.
And Brian was actually onto something with the Mountain Dew. For a little more history on the whiskey, because I didn't realize it, but I think you might have told me.
Mm-hmm.
But come to find out that Mountain Dew was actually originally made to be a whiskey chaser before it was actually a soda.
Yep.
So if you actually look up the history of Mountain Dew, it was actually made to compare with whiskey.
Yep, and the name's even deriving from Mountain Dew, meaning like the moonshine making up in the hills, Mountain Dew.
Yep, that's kind of a little cool
Whiskey tidbit.
Fun fact, I guess, for today's podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so yeah, we were saying with that, got these fronts coming in. If you still have a tag in your hand, I'd be really watching this weather coming up this weekend. It's gonna hit just right, for guys that work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. You got that big, tropical storm rolling up the coast. You got good weather coming in for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, that whole stretch coming up, the end of, archery season. It looks great for us.
Yeah, the weather's looking good. Yeah, so sure. I mean, I was ecstatic about Monday afternoon and Tuesday this week. If I could have put 12 hours in the tree stand Tuesday, I probably would have.
Yep, had another tag in your pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
no,
I can't get the wife to sit 12 hours.
But. Well, you got the kid too. It makes it a little trickier.
Yeah. But hey, got her to sit for a couple, and she made it happen.
Absolutely. But yeah, and then that's the thing too with the rut. I mean, like we always talk about, it doesn't matter, how hot it is or how crazy the woods is getting right now. You can't throw caution to the wind, literally. You still got to hunt smart. Because, like you said, I think you said last podcast, or maybe it was 2 ago, you still got to get the doe beat. Even though that buck's all wound up, maybe stupid coming in behind her or something, or he might even just be cruising by, he's still not going to be throwing caution to the wind. So you still got to hunt smart with it.
You got to hunt smart. I mean, if that doe's, getting pushed around by the buck, I mean, her senses are still in tune. And if she crosses your path, I mean, she's still going to pick up on it. Unless she's going Mach 9.
Yeah.
I mean, if she's just kind of getting bumped around, she knows what's going on. She's been there, done that.
Yep.
So she's still thinking about her well-being while they're messing around out there for sure.
I got the Facebook comments pulled up. Mike King says, "What are you guys drinking tonight?" Just tuned in. We're drinking Granddad Bonded, 100 proof. Is the whiskey of the night tonight, which is one of my dad's go-to staples. Mike says you drink a Camo Bush lattes.
You gotta love the lattes.
Gotta love a Camo latte. And then my mom and Rebecca chime in and says they're Grandpa Dews.
Grandpa Dews.
Granddad. They're Grandpa Dews. Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
Granddad Dews.
Yep. Grandpa Dews. Yeah. But no, they're always, like I said, that's something that, that's been Dad's go-to since he switched off a turkey.
Yeah, he's gotten me in trouble once or twice with it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. Can be. Jimmy O commented in, "I've had to adjust for deer movement a little bit. What are your thoughts on stand movement during this part of the season?"
Moving the stands or just moving stand to stand?
I think he's talking about adjusting the movement. So I'm thinking moving stands. Maybe he's like you said, he's going through a pinch point or something or an
He's
area, and he's a little too
just out
far
of
out for
range.
archery.
Just move it.
Yep.
Just get down and
Yeah.
move it.
If you got the right conditions, midday, I'd move stands, dude, in the dark. Wouldn't necessarily recommend it, especially by yourself. I've done stands in the dark, done them in like this monsoon rain we're gonna have. It's gonna suck.
Yeah, I mean,
But I've done them in pouring rain.
you can go to extremes and everything,
Yep.
but I mean, honestly,
If you're getting in there, getting it up, moving it,
as long as you're not in there, I guess leaving a whole bunch of scent behind, like you're in there with a wad of chewing, spitting all over everything,
yeah,
or I don't know, bring your lunch out there and leaving your wrappers everywhere.
yeah,
As long as you're just, good woodsman etiquette, you're out there and you move your stand 20 yards so you can get closer to the majority of the deer movement.
hmm
I don't think it's going to affect anything.
And I would say if you're seeing movement like that, like have that exact tree in mind. Like you said, don't be stumbling around out there trying to find the right tree that they're going past. Do a
Right.
little bit of that scouting from your current stand to try to figure out where you're going to probably put that stand.
Definitely put a little thought into it because if you do move it, you're going to want it there probably the next season.
hmm
So, I mean, don't move it, 10 yards one way into a tree that's, half the size of yourself.
Yeah,
Don't move it to a tree where you're going to stick out like a sore thumb.
yeah.
You still want to think of cover and
hmm
stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely don't think moving your stand this time of year. I mean, even if you did it in the middle of the day, I mean, obviously the bucks are cruising and stuff, but I mean, even just making some noise in the woods, just rustling some leaves around might draw some attention, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy time of year, but yeah, I don't think it would affect anything.
Yeah, no, I move stands during mid season, but I also have two, which is handy to have, a tool in the toolbox. I got a set of sticks, and then I use a lone wolf. It's a sit and climb or whatever they call them. But I use that to use as kind of a mobile setup. I've used it a few times, put me in positions to take deer and shot a couple coyotes. I shot two coyotes out of a mobile setup, I guess you'll call it, sticks and a hang on and going out and setting it
Yeah.
before the hunt. Um, so I think there's a lot of, value in that. Moving a ladder stand is going to be obviously more noise, a little more clunk. It might be good for that. I know a lot of guys, that's where some guys we know have switched over to saddles for most of their hunting, just because of that easier, flexibility with some stuff. But I like my tried and true ladder stands, especially on, family property, leases, permission, stuff like that you got a little bit more control with and have figured out for a few seasons, especially. Once you
Hmm.
start to iron out those spots, it's good to put the stuff in it.
Looks like he's talking about a box blind.
Yep. So little Otis, so I know Jimmy's a client of mine. Um, Even with that crazy wind, um,
I think he was talking about Monday and Tuesday when I brought that up.
oh,
I'm not sure where Jimmy hunts
wasn't
out
it?
of. We had about a 9 to 10 mile an hour wind, steady west,
Yep.
northwest.
There was one day though that it was breezy. I forget which night it was,
But
but
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure where Jimmy's hunting or what the wind was doing there, but yeah, when me and my wife went out, it was 9, maybe 12 miles an hour max,
mhm.
which I mean, you get up into that, we'll say 7 to 12 mile an hour wind range, you usually have a very steady directional wind, which
Mhm.
makes your hunting, I guess, a little more, I guess, safe. It's not so switchy when
Yeah.
you get below that 7 mile an hour.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So Jimmy was saying he had 15 to 25 Monday and then 10 to 15 on Tuesday.
yeah,
So he's a little bit closer to the lake though, so he gets a little
yeah,
bit
you
more
probably get a
push from
little
that.
more. But yeah,
Yeah.
we did out here in I guess Ontario County. We didn't
Get quite
we
that.
didn't quite have. I mean, 10 to 15 maybe
Yep.
on Tuesday. I can
Mhm.
see that, but
Yep.
10 to 15 wouldn't deter me from getting out during the rut.
Yeah. I mean that helps. You know. Um. what was it? Saturday was the really, really windy one. Saturday afternoon
Yeah, I think
was really
so.
windy. And me and my wife were actually out sitting that night. So, doe hunting or whatever you want to call it. But, yeah, I mean, that's pretty windy. I don't really like setting stands in the extreme winds.
No.
I've done it, not necessarily saying it's a good idea or condoning it, but I've
Yeah.
done it before. But Jimmy says Little Otis box blind is 60 to 80 yards from the poplar at the end of the plot. Put up a pop up on the other side and still seeing decent traffic by the pop up. Cell cams are great for the instant kind of feedback. Yeah, I mean if you can get I know a lot of guys are hunting out of pop up stuff like that. I think they're a little tricky to shoot vertical bows out of. I think crossbows you can shoot out of pretty decent.
I don't bow hunt. I don't want. I don't mind gun hunting out of them.
Hmm.
Pop them up in a little brush patch and kind of brush them in a corner of a field.
Yep.
A food source. Just kind of sit over it.
Yep. I've put
Have
them on the backside of hedgerows and then shooting through the hedgerow. That way you're not,
You're not
you know,
exposing it
not
as much.
exposing yourself as much. Or tucking them into corn. I really like tucking them into standing corn where
Hmm.
you can. That's
Just got to
deadly.
make sure you communicate with the farmer on that one.
Yeah, before it gets wadded up in the combine.
You might piss him off and lose permission on that one.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean during season moving, I'm 100% for it if that's what you got to do. You know, and as you start to manipulate, properties and start to do stuff, you're going to have a little bit of that, like you said, that figuring out and how it works and flows with some of the improvements you make too.
And the deer are gonna work and flow with you. I
Hmm.
mean, you move a blind. I mean, something's gonna check it
They're going
out.
to figure it out.
They're,
Yep.
within that next week, most deer in the area are gonna figure out that okay, there's something different over there, and they're gonna investigate it. And as long as you're using good woodsmanship and good woodsman, etiquette in the woods, I don't really feel like it should bother them too much.
Hmm. No, I agree. I agree with that for sure. But no, good comments. Like I said, I like Plaps saying with laying out and looking at new pieces. That's great information for people. And then moving stands, yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to, you know, but I'm, not saying also charge 200 yards deep into a bedding area and plop yourself up in it either. You still got to be able
Right.
to get on and off of it
Hmm.
where you set it up, and change your location. So,
So minor movements. If it's a major move, like what Ben was just talking about,
hmm
you might want to wait till the following season. Maybe just if you have the means of like a climber, maybe just move a climber in
I mean, or if
on
you
out of
if you
that.
want to
But
throw a Hail Mary on it and do that, and if you got the right conditions to go in to that bedding with like one of these prime fronts coming or ones that we had, might be the time you do it. But that's it. Once that happens, you're gonna burn it.
yeah, you don't want to blow that out.
You know.
Um,
So sometimes it's
but
worth the Hail Mary
hey,
if you got the right observations and the right stuff pointing you in that direction with it.
that's half the fun,
Yep.
is making these plans. And I've done some stuff that, you know, I guess you like Ben was saying, like a Hail Mary move, like
Hmm.
just getting frustrated with what was going on, and I was like, you know what, I just need to do this. You just do it, and sometimes it worked out, and sometimes I feel like it was the wrong move to do, and I guess you don't really know that 100% until you do it, and then you learn from it.
Hmm.
'Cause
Yep.
it's definitely situational, but if you're just moving a stand, I don't know, 30, 40 yards,
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna bother anything.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as you're, trying to be, decent about it. Had a comment come in and blip in on the Facebook line from Kyle. Said I tend to follow thermals more than winds. Even with high winds, our mountains and ridges blow winds one way, and then 300 yards is blowing a completely opposite way. Oh, it's a long comment. I got to see more. My farm spots are a little more predictable. I'm also a ground and pound guy, never much for stands. I do have some that stay up, but I feel as if the time of the year is being mobile pays off. That 70 plus degrees last weekend did not do any favors, but cell cams have been blowing up the last 20 hours. I'm 80% public as well. So, I mean, with the public, you got to go find the deer. I mean, you're not, doing any improvements. You're not. you're hunting with, everybody else.
Cell cam's your best friend when it comes to public.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can keep them hidden and stuff
You're
like
not
that.
going in and out. I know there's always that chance of someone stealing it,
Hmm.
but I definitely think cell cams, if you're hunting public, are the way to go. If you can kind of get them in there and then just kind of get some deer movement,
Yep.
or try and pattern a buck somewhat with a cell cam, or having one go through, and then you just move in with your,
Right. Well,
your mobile setup, or
yeah. Well, Tomes, we were saying we gave him a shout out, I think, last podcast. I'll shout him out again. He put a cell cam back on a piece of public. Um, I think he said for the last 3 or 4 years, and had been getting decent bucks back there, but finally had one he wanted to go chase back in that area. Slotted in, might have even been a buck he had from previous years that was
made it
calling that
happen.
home, and slotted in on him and whacked him. I think that was right.
That was early. You got him early.
I think that was a week before we shot. That little bit of that front right before we went out and tagged our bucks.
Hmm.
So I think it was like mid October, and he's out grinding right now, and I think he's in Ohio now. He was in Indiana. He had a rough go in Indiana. Taylor that we shoot leagues with shot one in Indiana. Shot a nice buck,
Nice.
and then yeah, and I think they're in Ohio now.
Living
But
the life, them guys.
just get on the road and go hunt deer.
Yeah.
God bless their wives and girlfriends.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But,
That's kind of like my dream in my retirement in 34 years.
yeah. But yeah, so with the thermals and stuff like that, I talk about cheating that a lot with the wrong wind stands and stuff I call them.
Hmm.
Where you get it up and out over the top of you in the morning,
This
in
has
some
these
spots.
mountains and ridges,
Yep.
and it sounds like he might be.
Yeah.
That's a little. I mean, we're out here. We're pretty.
Downstate or out east a little bit more, something like that, where we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, but you still get. I mean, it
Get more
doesn't.
towards like Bristol or
We get some of these
Candice
drumlins.
or
You still get
something.
pretty good thermal pulls. You get in some of the ditch beds. You get the thermal pull down.
Hmm. And it's
Or get
also a
rising
little.
off.
Well, I mean, you get into the mountains and stuff. I mean, you're talking about a little different hunting. You're talking 1,000-acre woodlots. I
Yep.
mean, them deer are, they're not in these little 100-acre
100 acre.
wood blocks that we're hunting,
Yep.
where most of our pieces are. I mean, these are,
Hmm.
he says Montgomery County.
Yep. The foothills of the
Yeah.
Adirondacks. Yep.
Yeah, so you're talking thousands and thousands of acres of just
Woods
nothing but timber
and no ag.
and no ag. So you're hunting them mountain deer.
Yep. It
And
all
that's
goes.
that's definitely a different game for
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
7,000, yeah.
7,600 acre woodlot.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And
And then it goes right back to your topography thing, though. You know what I mean? That goes back to hunting the topography, hunting your benches, your saddles,
mhm,
and where you can get in and, use those thermals and stuff to your advantage, like he's saying,
mhm,
more than the wind because the hills are going to pull it just because of
mhm.
the size that he's getting there in the foothills of the Adirondacks. So
Yep.
definitely don't overlook thermals, dude. I recommend that to everybody. And
They're a little tricky to understand, but once you kind of figure them out, it's
mhm.
definitely will help you out in your game if you can figure them out.
I mean the simplest way to put it, and I mean you can go completely in depth with it, a lot further, but it's going to rise in the morning. If you have sunny conditions, it's going to rise faster and quicker.
Hmm.
Um, and if you have some wind, if you have a still morning,
Heat rises.
yep, heat rises basically. But if you have a still morning, I've dropped milkweed, and if there's no wind or movement of that temperature, or if you're on the back side, like if you're on the far west side of a hill and the sun's coming up in the east, that air is not warming up. That air is still cooling. That's the same place you're going to see the frost hang on last and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So you got to also, keep that in mind, with your thermal and stuff like that too. If you got an east facing spot or a semi east or southeast facing spot,
Thermals have a
it's
lot
going to
to do
rise
with
quicker.
yeah, that has a lot to do with the sun.
Yep. Sun and that warming temperature.
Yeah.
Or if you had, let's just say you had that front blow in that we got coming up and that temperature is still dropping or going to kind of stay steady and drop throughout the day, you're not going to get as much of a thermal pull.
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot more thermal pull on day 2, 3 out of the front where it's starting to almost ramp back up again with the temperature because I got predictable conditions.
Yep, pinch points are my friend. Hell yeah, pinch points.
They're everybody's friend.
Pinch points, but yeah. Yeah,
But in the big woods,
those
100%.
hills and stuff, those bench shelves on the side hills and stuff like that, for sure.
Hmm.
And then if anybody's, not too in tune with thermals and stuff, I mean, just go grab yourself a milkweed pod and bring it out with you. And actually, Ben was going to bring that up in a podcast. I don't know if he's got one laying around there. He's got an old tin cup special
Yep.
that I don't even know if they make them anymore. But the
You can get them
old,
on Amazon.
the old rubber penny, not to steal your thunder
Yeah.
here. This is all Ben. He showed me this, but the old penny savers, the little rubber things, you fold
Change
in half,
purses, yep.
change purses. Well, pull yourself some milkweed, pull the hairs out of it, the seeds, shove
Yep.
it in there. And some morning when you're sitting in the stand, just pull it out and just let it float. And if that milkweed starts going up, then your thermals are rising. If it starts dropping, then your thermals are probably dropping.
Yep. Yep. So, yeah, no, that's something that, I've had on. It sits right on my vest. It's up in my hunting clothes and my tote. But it's got a little. I mean, they're the change purses. They're oval, oblong. They have a slit in them, and then you squeeze them on the sides, and then you have access to the change or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I keep my milkweed in.
Yeah.
When I'm in the stand. Mine just happens to be green because that's the color I bought off Amazon 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. And then I honestly I did a little experiment to see if the milkweed would, I guess, hold. I actually jarred it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Oh, you could jar
it.
bag
I
it.
guess for us hippies out there.
Yep.
Cured it in
Yep.
in a mason jar, and yeah, it's 2 years old and it still works great and stays in the jar and sealed. And
Yeah, that's why I keep the milkweed out.
Jimmy
in the
says
patch.
coin purse.
Yep. Coin purse, man. The old coin purse. Old tin cup coin purse.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Jimmy, you'll have to look that one up.
Them.
Yeah, you'll have to look that one up on Amazon or something, Jimmy. Just type in coin purse.
I think they'll probably come up.
You'll see.
And once you see it, you'll know what
I don't
it
even
is.
think it's a thing anymore, but
That was like 90s. That was when we were kids.
the banks used to give them out for free when you
opened your account.
You
Yeah.
opened your account, you got a coin purse. It's a little rubber oval thing with a slit in it.
Yep. Platt had a comment. How many different bucks or deer have you seen at each stand before or after a kill? I think at each stand it varies. I mean, obviously you have some sits that are better than others, and I've almost found that the mornings sometimes, I mean, every hunt's different, but some of the mornings that I'd see less deer, but I'll see the right deer. And I find that more in mornings than afternoons. Afternoons, if I'm seeing a lot of deer, there's a lot better chance I'm going to see a good one.
Yep.
But morning time, it's almost, unless there's a lot of bucks cruising just with the right conditions, but it's almost, I see less bucks in the morning times. It's usually when I'll see one of my good bucks because I'm closer to where, I anticipate one of those good bucks being that I'm chasing. But kind of answer his question, Hornet was the 7th buck I had in range this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 6 smaller bucks that I let go during our
I think he was getting it before and after a kill.
Yeah.
So the difference, will the deer movement be different after you kill an animal out of a stand?
If that doe's still hot, I've heard of those guys that dad shoots one day, son goes out, shoots one the next day.
I mean, I've shot deer before and watched other deer just come over and smell them and just walk away or walk right by me. I don't know. And you agree with me on this, is that I don't think deer really comprehend death.
No,
nope. I don't think they. So I don't think killing a deer and the blood. I mean, I think a gut pile might draw some interest.
I think that's more the predator scent that's laid with it, though.
Could be.
I don't know if it's necessarily the gut or the.
But I don't think it'll scare them. I don't
No,
think
I don't. And again,
I don't think it does.
I think you're more intrusive if you're not hunting, or like Nate says that I call it the woodsmanship side of it with your stand location. You're more impactful if you're not paying attention to it on your access side and your woodsmanship side. You're going to pay for it in the long run more than shooting a deer out of a stand and then, having the right conditions to go back to it,
Hmm.
I think. But Jimmy says keep a couple milkweed pods in the pocket and then coin purse. Yep. That's just what I put it in.
He says I'm 53. I know what a coin purse is. Heck, I still remember.
Floorboard dimmer, night switches, and trucks with the old foot pedal. Yep.
Well, my dad there, Platt commenting in. He probably will. He's
Oh yeah.
56, so he's right there with you, Jimmy.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome with it. Dollar General. Apparently, they still sell them at Dollar General.
Maybe
Kyle
Dollar
says
General.
Dollar General is where I bought mine. So must be they still got the coin purses out there floating around at Dollar General. Maybe I'll have to go check Dollar General.
Yeah. We got some other comments here. Oh, my wife chimed in.
Oh, sorry, Liza. Jumped over your comment. Can you talk about best times to use rattling antlers, grunts, bleats, and urine? Take it away, Nate.
So,
You had success this year, so
Actually,
we'll let you kick it off.
I've killed my last 4 bow bucks. I rattled them in. It's situational. It's definitely time of year. You don't want to go out there. And I say situational by, you got to know your property in the area you hunt to an extent. I usually like to start calling right around that week of Halloween. Is and when I mean by calling, I'll do a blind rattle. I kind of grind the antlers. I don't so much smash them together and make a heck of a lot of noise. I kind of try and make it more sound like the deer's antlers are pushing against each other, not so much like they're playing knights with their swords with their antlers.
Because they're not rams. They're not reefing back and ramming each other and
No.
ramming each other and ramming each other.
They're locking heads, they're pushing each other, and those antlers are grinding. And you'll get some slap, so you obviously can make some noise. And I've had a lot of luck with rattling, using a grunt call. I usually only use a grunt call when I visually see a deer. I will not rattle if a deer is visually in sight. I only use a grunt call. And something that I found works really good, and it definitely depends on the deer's mood, is if you just let out kind of a hey, I'm over here grunt, just like just a burp, and you get that buck to look back. If you can actually take your call apart and fine tune that rubber band on it, and just kind of get it to where you can just make that grunt a very small like tick, where you're only making like how the grunt call if you could just get it to go just one of those little clicks and just kind of click at that buck, drives them nuts.
That's tendon grunt, man.
That's a little tip for your calling that works really well for me. That just that little, if you got their attention and it does, just give them that little a few clicks, and it almost like pisses them off. It's almost like another deer is giving the other deer the bird, like. And so I've had some luck with that, and like I said, time of year, usually at least around me here in Ontario County in New York, I usually start calling the week of Halloween through probably, until I kill or until gun season. And then gun season, I don't even bother.
I usually don't call much.
Because now that we can shoot rifles, if he's within 200 yards, I'm kind of all right with him.
Yep.
So Then
Yeah.
bleats, I don't do much doe calling. I don't really use any fawn stuff. I don't.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked about it in our group chat. I like um, now I forget the name of it. The hooks, the hooks call, the hooks grunt call, hooks custom call, grunt call. That's the one that I've liked. That's the one that I think does sound the best, just, from my experience and then hearing it over a distance. That's the grunt that I like to run. I like the wooden body to it. I like the reed adjustment it has on it. It's got several slots to adjust it and keep it kind of that immature buck. You don't need to roll that. Good.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all good. I thought you were gonna sneeze. Um, but I don't want to roll it, all the way down and get that like deep bellowy. I haven't had much success with that at all.
If you want to try blind calling, I guess maybe.
Yep. I don't know. I want to be that 2-year-old buck that almost thinks he's too big for his britches. That way I'm calling in, multiple deer. I am a big fan of um the blind grunts, but with the scenario. Like I'll doe bleat and then I'll wait 30, 40 seconds and then I'll do some of those, like you said, those tick grunts, those tending grunts, those tick, tick, tick. It almost sounds like it. You're saying that and that's almost how you
You're
blow
just
into it.
trying to get that reed to just go
Just flap. Yep.
flap once.
Yep. Yep. And if you
A
listen
lot
to
of grunt calls won't allow you to do it. You have to find a call that kind of works for you.
hmm
You gotta,
doesn't freeze up.
yeah, it doesn't freeze up.
Yep.
Because I know a lot of those cheaper calls, I can't get that.
Yeah, that
Maybe it's
tick.
just me
hmm
and how I work things, but
Yep. Yeah, so I usually do like a doe bleat and then some soft kind of tendon grunt clicks and then maybe I'll do like a little like a deep almost like a some people call it like a breeding grunt or just a bellow grunt. But that's it. I mean, I won't be sitting there, just playing it like a flute, and just blowing into it, just all willy-nilly. You got to kind of almost
uh,
set the stage for
yeah, I think a lot of people make that mistake when they're calling. I think a lot of people will overcall.
it.
Um, and then especially if that deer is in eyesight, that deer senses are in such tune
Yep.
that is once you got his attention, you kind of want to do as minimal as possible.
hmm
And I think that's where that clicking kind of comes in. Because if he's looking back at you and grunt, boom, he's pinpointed you. You know what I mean? He
hmm
knows what tree you're in. I mean, that's why you can blind grunt deer, right? Or blind grunt call deer right to your tree. They
Yep.
will pinpoint that location even though they can't see
Oh
you.
yeah.
So if you can see them, they're going to figure out where you're at real quick.
Yep.
So by just kind of getting their attention and then doing some clicks, maybe semi in their direction, or even, I've even like pointed my call the opposite way
Yep.
of them
Or
to try
throwing
and
it over your
sound like
shoulder.
the deer is farther away than where I am.
Yep. Absolutely.
So in hopes that they don't pinpoint me,
Yep.
and it's very hard
Yep. Yeah.
because they're
No,
good
and
at
I've
they're
I've
good at what they do.
I've grunted a couple right to the bottom of the tree. I mean, the bar buck over here, Bud, he came in on a blind grunt, but he was an aggressive, you know, fairly dominant buck that year on the farm too. So, and then yeah, I mean, it works. But I've only called in, let's see, one, two, three, three bucks. That's all I've called in.
Well, my buck this year, I kind of had a really good feeling about blind calling over there because if you watch some previous episodes, after the second week of October, he was the only mature buck on
That
like
piece.
60 acres or
Yep.
whatever it is,
Mhm.
and he was hitting all the scrapes. He was just running the show on that piece.
Yep.
So I kind of had an idea if he was around, if
Well, you called it. You said that was gonna be the buck you were gonna kill.
I could kind of tell, he was very active, he was very aggressive
Yep.
just by the pictures and how frequently he was hitting scrapes. He was there during the day, he was rechecking scrapes at night, like he was constantly patrolling
Yeah. He's a
that.
homebody.
he was, that's his piece, and he wanted to make sure everyone knew it, and he made sure everyone knew it.
Hmm.
So, trail cam pictures can also help you by looking at them and watching the deer movement and, possibly seeing what is the dominant buck. The dominant buck might not be the buck with the biggest rack.
Yep.
You know, the dominant buck, is the one who is just like I explained. He's the one that is most frequently up and moving. He's the one
Hmm.
checking his scrapes. He's the one checking his rub lines. He's the one checking the bed area. He's constantly patrolling his turf. And if you can come in there and sound like you want to challenge him for his spot, he's going to come right to you.
And
And that's
usually those aggressive bucks don't last, into getting into some of those older age classes because they get shot when they're younger because they're all full of piss and vinegar.
hmm
I see that a lot of times.
And him being a 6 point might have been his saving grace till
It could have been. It's tough to say, or
for
you
him
just,
to get where he was.
dude, he could have been whiffed four,
Uh,
5, 6 times. I know we got one that's been hit once, whiffed at least once, maybe twice,
yeah,
that we
he
got
did.
running around out there. I mean, and they're tough animals.
hmm
But I have specific bucks, that I'm watching or looking at or whatever, like Curly specifically. He's he's so subordinate. I've seen him literally tuck his tail and run the other way when I had deer running and chasing.
And he's a big deer.
And he's a solid buck. But he is not.
He's a pretty boy.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get his face dirty.
He's that friend of yours that has got to make sure his hair and everything is perfect before he
And his
goes
rack
out.
is pristine.
He's got to look good for the ladies when he goes out.
Yep.
He's not just rolling off his 8-hour shift and just, all right, let's go, guys.
Yep. Time to fight. But no, and then when I had Hornet out in front of me that night that I shot him, I did a couple soft, just almost, I call him kind of a contact grunt, just a little brap, brap, just almost like another buck just kind of walking through that's just grunting as he's walking. Didn't even pick his head up. The other buck that was out in the field at that time picked his head up and looked over. But like I said, when I was telling the story about him, he really didn't care about the other deer on the field. He was just out there eating that night. He didn't care about the does. He didn't care about the other bucks unless they got within, 8, 10 yards of him. Then he kind of posture quick and walk them off just because he didn't want to be bothered, I think, by him. But he was just out there feeding, man. That's all he was doing. So I don't know if he was aggressive. I never had any history with that deer. I was telling Nate that the shed that is holding his phone up, I found that would be 3 years ago. So that would put him, if that is his shed, would put him at, I would assume, 4 years old. But I estimated him to be 3, so maybe it's not. I mean, it's tough to say when they're a yearling, shed or whatever. But I had no history with Hornet other than this summer going into the season. He wasn't one that I had on the board or anything like that. It just worked out, right place, right time. And then going back to, bumping deer around, I bumped him off one end of the farm and I did kill him on the complete opposite end of the farm, where I killed him. So maybe I did spook him out, and maybe that would have spooked him onto a neighbor piece in a different scenario. But that's how it worked out with him. I just kind of killed him on the opposite end. So, and after I bumped him and then went back and looked at cameras after we took pictures that day up in the field I shot him in, he was on that plot 3 straight nights. That was the 3rd straight night he came out to that food plot. That was the second time in the last 3 days during daylight.
If we were a little more advanced hunters, you would have had that information sooner.
On the cell cam? Yeah, my phone would have been going ba-ding, and I'd have been going, ah. But the night I killed him, he came in from a different spot of the field, and we got Facebook comments. He came into a different spot of the field than he did on my trail camera. So I didn't actually get a picture of him the night I shot him. So it just goes to show you too. You only see, like we talk about, that 40-degree window or 60-degree window in front of your camera. That's it. That's all you get.
We'll say it's 60 degrees.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yep.
60 degrees. So there's 300 degrees going on around it.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, so yeah, and like I said, he was on that 3 straight nights, and I found that out after the fact. It was more of I hadn't put any sits on that end of the farm yet, and I had the right wind for that stand,
Hmm.
and it all came together on him. So, couple
James.
questions commented in from Kyle's were first on that. My buddy Brian makes custom calls. He has a wooden hand-tuned grunts. His signature is a brass button on the reed itself, specifically designed for clicking. Hmm.
I like it.
Kind of floats and bounces. I could see that work. Yeah.
Okay.
Get you a good clap of the reed. No, I can see that
What
working
does
good.
Brian makes custom calls? What's give us can you give us his I mean, does he just do it for friends and family, or he
You got
said
a
he's
call
got a little
company
patent
or
there? Does he have a I mean, what's the name of his stuff there, Kyle?
yeah. No, we'd be happy to give him a
I
shout
like
and
that brass button idea. That's
yeah,
slick.
I think the grunt that I use, that Woods one or the Hooks one or whatever it is it's got a little tab on the back too. I think that one's plastic on the reed.
Hmm.
But same thing to get that, like you said, that bounce.
Hmm.
It's perfect for that.
So it gives that little heavy one
Yeah,
click.
yeah, absolutely. And Jimmy says I got 26 acres on my hunting property, multiple picks of a mature 10, couple active 8s and 6s, and very few scrapes and rubs. Any insight?
Mock scrape.
It could, well, it could just be the fact that at this point of the season, I'm seeing scrapes start to tail off. They're going into breed mode. They're not going into laying down sign mode and
Hmm.
and going out and around everywhere. The other thing is it might be back in some of the thicker bedding cover and not somewhere where you're seeing it,
Yeah, if his
out
20,
there and obvious.
if his 20, yeah, James, if your 26 acres is, a very open part of the woods, I mean, that's gonna happen. I mean, something that you can do to your 26 acres is you can create a little thicker habitat for them to try and hold them if that is the case,
Hmm.
and try and get them to, I guess, feel a little safer in that block. I guess I don't really know the full situation there, but
Yeah, and I mean rubs and scrapes is all relative. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say litter your property. I would almost be more turned off with a property that's got hundreds of scrapes than one that's got 10 or 12 really good scrapes in the right spots. And like I've talked about before, I take out scrapes a lot of times, especially around stand locations. If it's not my mock along my travel pattern or whatever, I'll
right.
take it out.
And then um, I'm guessing James is Jimmy off of
Jimmy, yep,
YouTube.
yep.
So Jimmy, um, I guess wherever you just I guess what I would do is just whatever bedding that you have closest to you on your 26 acres, I would try hunting that the closest, as close as you can get to that, and um, just try and do some of your blind calling you were doing. But but yeah, if your 26 acres is pretty open hardwoods,
It's kind of
that's
a mix. I mean,
Jimmy's a client of yours, so
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
You know. So I'll let you
So
talk on this.
yeah, yeah. So
I
it
don't
would
want to
be
flap my lips. I don't even know what
no,
I'm
it
talking
would
about.
yeah. It's picking the right stands for the locations with those wind conditions, and then like Nate was saying, hunting around bedding areas and stuff. Being obviously something to key up on. But like we talk about hunting that bedding area, like a buck's using that bedding area, being downwind side of it, right conditions in it now. Um, and then Jimmy's piece is, yeah, he just commented on it. It's pretty thick, other than the food plots that we've knocked in on it. Um, I think there could be some pockets open because he's got quite a bit of autumn olive as one of the invasives he's struggled with because it was old pasture or cleared ground, and then it's just regrown back up to that. Um, so it's kind of tough, and it's almost sometimes impenetrable thick. So it's almost like you got to open up some pockets with it. But again, like we talk about, with budget and stuff like that, and I know he's got other pieces that he works on too. Um, you can only do, the butter only gets spread so thin with projects and time. Time being the most important one,
Mm-hmm.
because that's, you want to invest it in the best way time wise. But um, that piece that could be a slamming piece. I mean, he had a world class buck on there, COVID year, so 2 years ago, 2020. World class buck, and he had COVID at the time when he was lighting up the cell camera. Um, yeah,
Damn COVID.
yeah, damn COVID, but world class buck. No, it was a stud, but yeah, no, it the piece it's gonna work. It does work. I mean, he's killed some deer off of it or whatever. Yeah, the 15 pointer. Yeah, it was super solid buck, giant. Um, but yeah, so with those pieces, especially small parcels, dude, it gets tough, not getting discouraged on them. I think a lot of times for people, just because it's only a 26 acre snapshot too, of what's going on in the neighborhood. If your neighbor's putting a lot of pressure on one side of it, that could blow all the deer out through your 26 acres pretty quick too. It might not even be the way you're hunting it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just tough you know, to balance what other people are doing around you. But it is a piece, and with the right plan and stuff, I see it coming together, for him, and he's got another piece too that he hunts as well. So it's definitely good to have the right plan in place and hunt it smart. That's the biggest thing coming back to just hunt it smart. It's proved
Ooh,
1000%
Ben
with
got a
his.
shout out on his own park. Look at that.
Well, I appreciate that.
Wow. You
I
do know what you're
appreciate that.
talking about.
Yeah, well, I practiced a little bit. Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate it, man. No, it's like I said, it can be a grind, and I mean, even if you got 60 acres, 100 acres, 200 acres, like I said last year, I got access to hunt probably between all the parcels, maybe 400 acres total, and 500 acres. I didn't kill a buck last year. Now, part of that was,
You were picky.
being a little pickier, yeah, and stuff like
You
that
had
too.
your
But
sights on a specific animal.
but again, you still gotta have them be in the wrong place at the wrong time. No matter how good your stand is, you still gotta have them
Deer got to cooperate.
be at the wrong place at the wrong time for them. So, but no, Jimmy, I appreciate that. No, it means a lot. And like I said, I mean, if you guys can see it actually in the video, see if you can see it. I don't even know. Yeah, so this over here, this is something I'm working on. I actually filled this one up, and with the rest of the pictures I got to print out, I'll have a second one, but this is going in my office, and then I got another one the same size. These are all successful client kills. This whole board behind me, and then I got another one over here that are going up in my office. I was down here working on that the other night.
Mm-hmm.
So just something I can look at, make me smile. I'm not big on sharing, client photos and stuff like that around, unless they ask me to or something like that. Um, I've shared a few of them and stuff like that throughout the years, but you know, um, yeah, it's something that I enjoy doing. Like I said, I'm happy to do it, dude. I love getting those text messages, and it's just that picture or that big buck down text from a client or something like that, followed by the picture, or maybe it was, like you said, their daughter killed their first deer, or
Mm-hmm.
their the one lady, I don't think she'd killed a buck in 5 6 years, and the year after I was out there, she killed her first buck in like 5 6 years. You
Mm-hmm.
know, killed the biggest buck off of that property the following year after that they've ever killed off of it and owning it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love that. I love that. It means so much to me to hear back the positive stuff on the Tin Cup side of everything.
For sure.
Uh, Jimmy says, I think one of the best things I learned from you was that the off-season work can be even more important than what you do during season. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a reason why
It's
we
a
call it a 12-month a year.
it's a year-round process.
Yeah.
If you're into it
Mhm.
and you want to be continually successful year to year,
Mhm.
it's a yeah, 12
Yeah.
months of the
And,
year. You're
and
thinking about it, you're planning it, you're executing your plan, you're
and even if it's not like doing food plots and like land or habitat work or something like that, even if it's just out scouting or
hmm
shed hunting or whatever it might be to help familiarize yourself with that way of property. And what I like to do too, and I've done before after I've killed a buck or something like that in certain scenarios, is I'll backtrack almost where that deer came from, and try to get a feel for, okay, why'd that deer come through here like that? Especially if it wasn't what I was anticipating. Maybe he circled out of this bedding area, and then I maybe make a note of that, um, to pick up what other little tidbit might be helpful to help me kill the next deer out of that spot. Or maybe it's, yeah, this stands good, but it's not great. And then you start backtracking it, or even following, where the blood trail goes or leads to. Maybe you might find another, and I've done that before, found another spot so close to where I just killed a deer, and then set up on that spot because I'm like, wow, this is so much better. This is much, much better positioning or better way to get on and off with a hill or a roll or something that, there's a whole bunch of different things that I've seen over the years with it. But I think the off season, I definitely put more work into my off season scouting, habitat work, hunting, planning, etc., than I do during my in season. Because I think it also limits the amount of time you have to spend in season because you're so much more prepared.
hmm
I think
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, that's why you're doing all the work, so you can enjoy your time out there trying to,
hmm
you know, I guess reap what you sowed. I
Yep.
mean, that's kind of the motto there.
Yep.
Um, you know,
Yeah. No, I definitely, and I enjoy it. I enjoy my tractor time and my four-wheeler planting time, and if I can drag Nate out there to help me break my four-wheeler and my cultipacker, I'll do that too. That's always fun.
hmm
But no, definitely the off season is where you can, jump and get ahead, way more ahead than just, you know, going in 2 weeks before season and flustering stuff around and stuff like that.
yeah, whether it's you know moving a stand or um, setting your cameras up or going out there. Something Ben had me try this year with his old tin cup mix. I've always hunted permission pieces. I've never owned my own piece. Um, so I've always been limited on what I was able to do. I was always trying to hunt the deer for what the farmer left out there or
hmm
or the just by the terrain. And so this year I got to mess around with a little uh what do you call the outlaw plot.
Yep.
Had to go in there and spread some of your old tin cup mix out there, and they're not hitting it too much, but there's a
Nice hue
neighbor.
of green.
There's a nice, and I planned it because I wanted it to be my marker for bow season. So I planted it out in the field, the bean field, like about a 30 to 35 yard radius. So I knew if anything touched the green, green means go.
hmm
I can get them.
Yep.
But it's kind of tough there because the neighboring farm doesn't tend to get their crops off too early.
Yep.
So there's always a lot of food around there. So food plots aren't always the greatest I guess in that area, and I guess that obviously applies to I guess probably a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I definitely anticipate I think later in the later season, later gone, I think they'll definitely they get some snow. I think they'll get them out there digging around in there
Yep.
for sure. And
Yep.
it's definitely more of a I experimented with it, but it's definitely more of a gun stand really than a bow stand in my
The
opinion.
one up on top. Yeah.
Yeah, on the top of the hill. But
Yep. Jimmy commented back in. I know access is something you focus on a lot. Can you speak a little more of that for the novice hunter? So, um, very rarely. Well, I can't say that. Um, not very often is my way into a stand the shortest distance from where I park my truck to the stand. Very rarely is it necessarily like a straight line in. Sometimes you got to go around a bedding area or you got to go down a hedgerow to get around to it and not walk across the wide open field because it's easy to get to.
Hmm.
That's what I mean with the access, and also being conscious of when you're walking in. Like I said, maybe you walk around a bedding area rather than walk on this side of, walking on this side of a bedding area being here, but your stand's over here and you want to hunt it with like that southwest wind. Well, that whole time you walked into that stand, you blew your scent into that bedding area before you even got to the stand. I would rather go all the way around if you can. Sometimes it's limited by property lines, to get around that bedding area and get on the back side of it that way rather than just maybe taking a straight shot down the edge of a hay lot, overgrown field, something like that.
Hmm.
Being critical about how you get to your stand and then how you leave your stand um, just lessens your impact on the woods. That's that woodsmanship coming back into it again.
Yeah, and I think I can touch on that pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking it down for, I guess, more of a novice hunter or beginner.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of, I guess, a lot of people, like myself, have permission pieces or hunt public. Um, so go to the aerial view. Onyx is a great tool. If you got the $30 to spend for the year subscription, I highly recommend it. But look at it, and like Ben said, with property lines. So let's say your only access is on the south end of that property. Okay. That's where the farmers' barns are, or
The road.
wherever the road, that's where you can park, or the driveway, whatever it is, you can only access from the south end because it's just cut out of a wood block. But you can hunt that, let's say, 40 acres. So if I'm accessing on the south end and the neighbors from the west, the neighbors from the east, the neighbors from the north, they're all hunters. They do not want you to access that piece.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be the case for a majority, or you're just too busy and you don't really have the time to drive around and figure out everybody and ask if you can just
Yep.
walk across their property to go hunt your stand. So you park your truck in south end, you're walking north because that's where all the cover is. That's where the woodblock is. Let's say there's a hayfield out front or something. Well, if you have a south wind, I wouldn't even I wouldn't even hunt it
Unless you can
because
blow it adjacent off or something, yeah.
I'm talking for the novice hunter here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you have a south wind and you're walking in and that wind is heading in the same direction that you're headed into the cover, I mean, you're just blowing all your scent right in to where all the deer are,
Yep.
you know? I mean, when you're accessing a property, I like to look at the wind direction. I like the wind when I'm accessing to be, I guess, like you said, kind of a little adjacent to my side or directly blowing me in the face. I'm not blowing out a piece as I'm accessing it.
Mm-hmm.
The wind's kind of like we touched, going through a bedding area. Or maybe there isn't a bedding area. Maybe, it's just a 20-acre piece of timber,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you have to hunt. Well, why would you want your scent as you're accessing just blowing completely through that timber where the majority of those animals that you're trying to hunt are there?
Yep.
You don't want that. You know, you want to get in and have your scent either blowing onto the neighbors, blowing back out to where you're accessing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely, I guess, for a novice hunter, just for a simple tip that will definitely improve, I guess, the deer you see out in the
The
woods
success rate,
is
yep.
is and then you can kind of grow from there with a little more of what you were touching on, is just kind of access with wind. I mean, if that's the piece, and a south wind is just how it's set up and you're just going to blow all your scent into the woods, just take day off.
Yep.
Unless it's,
Or a different piece or whatever.
yeah, or go hunt a different piece if you have it. But, if it's set up like I said, and you're accessing from the south and you have a west, east, or northern wind where you can get that crosswind kind of blowing across you onto the neighbors, or that north wind that's blowing all your scent back to where your truck's parked, I mean, that is kind of what I would pay a little more attention to for the novice hunter. Pay attention to the wind on your access because you don't want to cut that wind and have your wind blow across everything that you're trying to hunt, and you don't know it because you don't know any better, but you just blew out the whole property you're trying to hunt before your hunt even started.
Yep. Yeah, and it depends on how the habitat lays out, and this is where it gets just a little bit trickier with it. Sometimes you hunt features on a neighbor's, and what I mean by that is, like, I'll blow scent over to a neighbor's wide open harvested ag field, like something where they chopped corn early in September. I'll blow my scent out into a big ag field.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's wide open timber with no topography in it, I might blow my scent out into there because very little chance you're going to hit a deer in that, or I'll blow it out over the top of a bottom, or, there's a bunch of different ways you can, look at your wind with that too, but
Yeah, you got a steep drop off. You can probably get away with
blow it
blowing
over
it
the
up.
top, there's other things that you'll figure out and learn, and then there's other spots you'll look at and be like, I think it's going to do this, and then you get in there and try to hunt it, and for whatever reason it swirls funny, the wind does something weird, the trees push it a different, I mean, you still don't know until you set the stand. You can get a good idea with the more stands you look at and the more spots you look at, but there's still no 100%. I mean, I had a couple spots over the last 4 or 5 years that I thought were just, they're going to be dynamite, and I get down in them with those conditions, and the stands aren't there anymore. It just doesn't work. The wind, the thermal, everything just doesn't work for that spot.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's some of them that I've learned that you need to have dead calm day, sunny, sunny sky rising, and you can sit it whenever.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's you need a hard west with some stands, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's just learning pieces and learning how the wind works on a piece too.
But for a novice hunter, I would definitely say access number one. I would pay attention to wind.
Yep.
You don't
Especially
wanna, you don't
archery.
want, yeah, you don't want to ruin your piece before your hunt starts because that makes for a long day
Hmm.
and a
Long
boring
season.
and a boring day.
Yep. And a long season ahead of that. But yeah. So good questions by Jimmy. Good questions by Platt. Good questions by everybody commenting in. And was it Kyle? Was the other guy that was commenting in? I want to make sure because Kyle is a new commenter. Yep, Kyle.
He,
He's a new commenter. So
yeah, I was kind of hoping he'd drop that call name.
yep, yep. And Jimmy says the other thing is stay off deer trails.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
huge.
Don't leave your boot marks and where the deer are going.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's another good tip too for new hunters.
Even if you're wearing rubber boots, they still smell you.
Yep. Yeah, they smell. I think they smell a lot of that ground disturbance or whatever too. Which um, this is when my wife's probably gonna go upstairs, right? And she's probably upstairs right now watching this or tuning in, and unless she got called into work. But she's probably gonna cringe when I say this. But the other thing too is unless I kill a deer, and this is just goes back to new hunters, and if you start getting into this kind of flow with how you prep and take care of your hunting clothes and stuff like that, especially boots and the outer layer, the stuff that's going to be exposed to the vegetation and where you're walking in, that stuff, the only time I have it on my body is when I'm in the woods. That does not go in my truck. That does not go to the gas station. That does not go to the polling booth the other day, like I saw people walk in full hunting garb,
Yeah.
you know, unless I kill. And then at that point, you know, I don't feel like changing. I want to celebrate.
Yeah.
That's different. But a big thing is keeping boots clean, I think, is the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll wear Crocs or something like that when I'm driving to a stand in my truck, and boots are in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get
I mean, bacteria grows on moisture, and
Yep.
bacteria is what's going to smell.
Hmm.
So number one thing, if you don't have access to ozone or
Whatever scent control you like
whatever
to
scent
use,
control you like to use, keep your stuff dry and keep it, I guess,
non-sweaty.
yeah, I mean, don't keep it with your, the dress clothes you're going to wear to the wedding the following weekend.
Yep.
Don't keep it in your closet. I mean, people like to put things in a tote. Um,
I have a clean tote and I have a dirty tote. So I'll get like, and this is just me. I get one or two hunts out of like a base layer, and then
mhm,
I'll put that in the dirty tote.
mhm.
Or if I got really sweaty walking in, I'm only get one hunt out of my base layer before I gotta put it in the dirty bin. So I got multiple of the same base layer, and then my outers. Like I said, the only time I wear my outers, I'll take another one. Is when I get to my spot.
Mhm.
There's no truck running, no exhaust, and I have my base layer on, and I'm getting dressed on my boot mat, so I don't get my socks and my feet wet, because like you said, that bacteria is going to grow in moisture. I don't want to be putting wet feet and wet socks in the boots.
Boot dryer's huge.
Boot dryer, keeping that dry and all that
And
stuff.
if you do have the means to get the ozone stuff, I highly recommend it.
I am a big fan of the ozone generators.
Percent control.
For clothes in the trees, I don't think it does a whole heck of a lot. And I don't recommend breathing it in because ozone is a natural known carcinogen.
Mhm.
Um, so being in closed spaces with it. But what I'll do is if I do run one in my truck or something like that, um, I'll run it for a while and then run it through a cycle or two or whatever. And then I will unplug it and then roll my windows down to let it air scent itself out the rest of the way before I climb into it.
I
Um,
mean, I go to the extent of before I go hunting, I will actually turn that little ozone generator on in my truck and let it run for a while, and also do maybe a 5 to 10 minute ozone cycle on my outer layers before I go out. Um, because the ozone only lasts so long. It's only gonna last as long as it's actually running. And then
mhm.
after it quits, everything just starts up again. Um, the scents and all that. Um, and even to keep it in your garage, ozone kills stink bugs and everything. They do not like it. They will not get in it if you run
Yep.
it frequently in your hunting stuff.
Yep.
I know everyone's got issues with stink bugs. Um, I guess, but I do about the same thing Ben does. I just really focus on my outer layers and what will be in contact with stuff. I mean, I wear a compression layer, um, and then I wear a cotton layer, like a long john layer, and then I will wear a cotton layer, like sweatpants, and then I always wear a cotton turtleneck. And then if it's a windy day and it's super cold, I will throw on a wind layer, like a windbreaker,
Mhm.
and then I will throw on my insulated outer layers over all of that. And that windbreaker is actually huge. And then for my hands, I never really wear really thick gloves. I always just keep my hands either in, I guess if you have one of them little hand warmer pouches.
Mhm.
I,
Muff.
I, I wear the same gloves all year round, pretty much.
Mhm.
They're just a simple thin layer glove, but I always bring a thing of hot hands. Um, I do actually have a little funny tip, I guess.
Mhm.
That I don't know, some people might like, some people might not, but hey. So it's called hunting beer. I know that's probably not the greatest thing to talk about, but every once in a while I'll bring a couple beers out in my pack, sit in the stand, and the beers I do bring are the aluminum twist top cans. Coors makes them, and I think Miller
Mhm.
makes them. But um, yeah, I'll sit there and I'll enjoy my beer. If you're a tobacco chewer, you could use it as a spitter, so you're not spitting all over your hunting stand. And then, if it's cold out and you got to pee, you can pee in that can and you can screw the top back on it and it's a hand warmer for a solid 10 to 15 minutes. A little redneck, little
Hand
redneck,
heater.
little redneck hand heater there. And
Yep.
that's the circle of life of a hunting beer. But yeah, I don't know, a little funny thing that my uncle always joked about, and well, we do from
Yep.
time to time. I mean, that's what we're out there for. I mean, if obviously you don't want to go out in the woods drunk off your ass, but you go out there, sit in the stand, enjoy yourself, and have a beer. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, in my
I don't think
opinion.
so. No, like you said, just obviously knowing your moderation, but having one or something over a 4 or 5 hour set.
Yeah, there ain't nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. I mean, some people might have some
No.
other opinions on it, but
Yeah,
it's
true. True enough. Yeah, we're not out there drinking a whole bottle of whiskey or something like that and going out and
no,
yeah,
no,
sitting here
nothing
waiting
like
on a
that.
deer, slinging bullets and missing, like Luke Bryan
Hey,
song.
look, Brian, yeah,
He's
drinking
loaded.
beer and wasting bullets.
Yeah, we're not doing that. No. Liza said probably shouldn't get in Nate's ozone closet then. Probably not the best idea. We were talking about it being a carcinogen and killing stink bugs and all that stuff.
Oh, well, is she gonna climb in it?
I don't know.
Yeah, Liza, if you plan on climbing in it, I don't know.
Do not do that.
I wouldn't climb in it.
No. And then Jimmy says I got an ozone generator for about $80 on eBay. Piped it into a tote with a 4-inch PVC. Run all my gear through it every evening hunt, and then in the morning right before I get up and go out.
Hmm.
Yeah. The only thing with the
Solid.
ozone is I will tell you anything elastic.
Yeah, don't put your harness in there.
No, yeah, no harness stuff. Well, the harness is breakaways, but I'm talking like face masks if they have an elastic. The waistbands on most base layers eat that right apart,
Yeah.
breaks that down. Your O-rings for your grunt call also get shredded. They don't last.
Hmm.
So my grunt call um, doesn't go in my ozone bag. It goes in a little zipper pocket, so it
Hmm.
doesn't get the ozone sprayed on it. Because it will eat elastics. Um, just does. My gloves, like the cuffs on my gloves, are a little loose now because the little bit of elastic that held them tight to my wrist is ate up.
Hmm.
You know, it definitely sucks at base layers though. You feel like you're on that Biggest Loser show and you're at the end of it and you pull your waistband out and it's like 20 inches too big because it's all gone. All the elastic's gone out of it.
See, I
But
don't keep my base layers in there. I just keep my outers.
hmm
Um, and then I have the um ozone generated boot dryer.
hmm
Um, I keep my outers just in like a tote or a scent bag in the house. I just take them off,
Yep.
throw them in there, and then I just throw them back on. I don't run any lowers in them. I just do
Yeah,
the
I
scent free
don't.
wash and
That's what I do, and then they have their own tote. It's my blue tote I call it because it's a non-ozone tote, and that's where I have all my extra base layer pieces in. I have extra bottoms,
yeah,
extra
I
tops.
don't run too much. The first year I had the ozone, I got a little crazy with it, but
hmm
I don't think it's necessary. I think it's more critical on your outers, your
Yeah, the
boots.
biggest thing is just not riding around in your truck, going and getting fast food with your hunting layers on, pumping gas, going.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
obviously, yes, go vote. I'm not saying don't go vote, but don't show up to the voting polls
Unless you got
unless you're
like a
tagged.
yeah, unless you got a rack hanging out of like sticking out of the back of your truck, then hell,
Yeah,
go pump your gas.
yeah. Absolutely. No, absolutely. But if you're going out the next morning, I wouldn't be pumping gas with my hunting
No,
boots and my,
no, no,
yeah,
I wouldn't
stuff
either.
on. Um, and then same thing, I use a different set of boots for hunting than I do for work versus walking around and scouting most of the time.
Hmm.
So, just being your hunting clothes are I'm pretty religious, so to speak, about keeping that just for hunting. And just for deer hunting, like my turkey hunting clothes are different. Waterfowl, if I do it,
Mm-hmm.
I might use some of the stuff, but before it's going to go back in the deer woods, um, it's got to be to the way I do it. Maybe it's a placebo effect. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, actually, it was kind of funny. The Monday when I took Eliza out, um, I actually threw all of my hunting stuff on before we went to the property, and she goes, "You're not putting it on when you get to the woods anymore, or when you get to the hunting spot anymore," because she had all her stuff packed up, ready to
and
go.
the totes
She
and
was she was doing it to the T,
yep.
and I was like, "Well, you're the one that's supposed to be killing tonight." I said, "I'm just up there for moral support." I said,
I'm just up there to help you drag it out.
"Yeah," I said, I'm not getting too into it right now. I said, "We're putting you in the honey hole."
Yep.
But yeah, she got after me. It was kind of funny. I kind of had to chuckle at that.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Why are you putting your outer layers on now? Aren't you gonna wait till we get to the spot?
Yep.
She said. I was like, man, you are listening.
Yeah. No, and then sometimes, like if I know it's the last hunt I'll get out of a base layer, maybe I'll wear that just driving in the truck to the spot.
Mhm.
Especially if it's one of those 20-degree mornings, I don't feel like stripping down in my underwear and putting the base layer on when I get to
I
the
get
woods.
lazy sometimes. I
Yeah.
get lazy sometimes.
Yeah. But like I said, the biggest thing is keeping that outer layer as clean as you possibly can.
Yep.
Um, but
Yep.
yeah.
Sure. Well, it looks like comments died down. Where are we at with?
Yeah, we're at hour 36 right now, so an hour and a half, which is usually how we do it. I mean, we do have the last kind of topic we had written down, which was a basic scoring of a deer, which we could do now, or we could save it for next episode.
I think we
What's your
save it for
thoughts?
the next episode. We're already an hour and a half
I
into
think
it.
hour and a half, that's a pretty good time point for people. So next week we'll do the teaser right now. Next week we'll do the live scoring of Hornet. I mean, obviously not official; it's still green. But we'll talk about why he's got a bunch of blue painter's tape on him right now, and explain the basic scoring of a deer. So yeah, we'll go through all the points, the mass, the spreads, all that stuff with it. And we'll do a live score of him next Wednesday on the
Hmm.
Whitetails and Whiskey, episode 11 for the. I don't know. Everybody's been calling him an 11 point with that little
Yep.
extra time. So
And if
episode
anybody,
11.
and if anybody's still listening, whoever gets the closest score, Ben will ship them out an old tin cup sweatshirt.
I do have one still in the closet.
Was it?
We'll have to take a poll at the
I'll tell you
beginning of
what,
it,
whoever gets closest to the score,
closest to the pin.
you get
A milkweed pod
a milkweed uh
dispenser,
coin
milkweed coin purse,
coin purse
and a
and an old tin
cup
cup
hoodie.
hoodie.
Yeah,
If anybody wants to get in on that, if anybody's actually listening,
yeah, I can do that.
just I think I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
If we get some people to send us some messages either on the book or the however you can do it.
yeah, we'll do it next
Throw
week.
us your score and whoever's closest. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm game for
If you're
that.
down for that, I'm giving away your stuff, but
Yeah, that's fine, man. All good. All good. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in to episode 10. This will be live, or sorry, it'll be available after the live's over on YouTube to listen to, as well as you can go back on the Bullhorn app at any time. I'd like to get a little bit more people on the Bullhorn app because of how cool that is with the call-in feature that Billy showed us a couple episodes ago. So if you want to check it out over on the Bullhorn app, um,
I'd love to get some people calling in, telling us about their hunts and
yeah, I'd like
some
to.
success or maybe some woe stories or
Yep.
anything.
Yeah, anything
It's
like
always fun to
that.
hear.
Comments are one thing, but with the call-in thing, it's cool. And we're talking about having, people on in future episodes here coming up. Um, and stuff like that going on too. But yeah, so thank you everyone. The other thing I was going to say, I guess, before we sign off, lastly, I just created a Facebook page specifically for the podcast. And then once the viewership gets up, we'll be doing the podcast directly live on that page,
Hmm.
and then sharing it to whatever other page and stuff like that. So if you have a chance, we'd appreciate if you go over to the Whitetails and Whiskey podcast Facebook page. Drop us a like, and we'll be putting up content over there. And kind of keeping the clutter off of my personal page and everything else like that. And people have been asking about it, so
Sounds like Jimmy's gonna send us a score. He said he was already gonna try.
he's gonna try the call-in.
Oh, he's gonna try the call-in.
Yep, I
Oh,
saw that
alright.
trickle in when I was talking about that. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. Share it around your friends and family. We appreciate it if you like and subscribe, and always enjoy having the conversations and answering your guys' questions. I appreciate having Nate on like always. And good luck to everybody still out there. And we'll see you next time down here at the Bragging Bar or at the Skin and Shed or wherever we're podcasting from.
You never know.
You never know.
Hopefully on a live blood trail one of these times.
One of these times. All right. Take care, everyone.